Welcome back. Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Del Vecchio, specializing in free retirement home search and senior transition support.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist, specializing in grief and loss.
They were something else, Zoe and Tim. Good couple.
A great sense of humor, and you've got it. If you don't have a sense of humor, I don't know how you manage parenting. To be honest with you, I don't. And also talking about grandparenting, I did want to say when we had our first baby, we bought my father a shirt that said, "If I knew grandkids were so much fun, I would have had them first."
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think I'll get that.
Anyways, I want to actually talk to you about something. There's lots of great community resources out there, and there's always a need for people to jump on board with helping and volunteering. And I understand you were just appointed to in a new position.
Yeah, actually, I was very honored to be asked to participate as part of the NOVA West Island Board of Directors. Many people may know NOVA. They have incredible services. They also have those thrift shops that raise money and for their causes. They do a ton of bereavement support, home care, day centers, and it just goes on and on and on. So very honored to be part of the board. Start my first meeting tomorrow night, as a matter of fact.
Jump right in. I think they're very lucky to have you.
Thank you, Corey.
So speaking of different healthcare services and support out there, navigating that healthcare system can really be a challenge. There's no question that at one point in time, somebody has thrown up their arms and been entirely frustrated just trying to navigate the system, whether it's finding a doctor for your kids, getting answers about resources, or simply trying to get a social worker to perform an evaluation on their elderly parents. And the other thing is that the rules seem to change all the time. So we thought, why not try and make it easier for you? We invited an expert into the studio who can shed some light on this increasingly infuriating experience. Jessica Smith is the coordinator of a program at the YWCA Montreal, providing free counseling and other very valuable support services and workshops to women caring for an elderly relative, a friend, or a loved one. The YWCA has also developed conferences open to the public which provide important information and strategies to assist those seeking information related to the healthcare system. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you.
So let's start very basically with someone's in need of services. Where do they start?
Well, the first place to start is basically trying to get in touch with a professional. If you need any kind of assistance, navigating this on your own can be confusing, overwhelming, hair-pulling. There are people out there whose job it is to do this, who know what the system is, how it works, and how to get around things. So the first thing to do is really to find someone that you can talk to who can help you navigate those things.
And then if you wanted to do it on your own, and I think many people suffer from the "I could do it all on my own" syndrome, and before you know it, you may be struggling. So if I were to look, Jessica, at some of the key services that a caregiver, for example, if we look at, what should we concentrate on at the beginning as the core services?
Well, it really depends on who you're caring for and what their particular situation is, as well as your own personal situation in that. Everybody lives things differently, so you can have two people in the exact same type of caregiving situation, but how it affects one versus how it affects the other can be dramatically different. So if you're talking about somebody who needs to care for somebody who's staying at home and has a lot of healthcare needs or day-to-day support needs, then getting home care services involved, for example, whether that's to care for the person or just to take a load off for you as a caregiver, to have someone cleaning the house or making meals or doing the groceries or whatever those kinds of
So I think home care service is absolutely one of the most popular ones. So you have a choice, I guess, going through CLSC or privately, I understand, or both. Is that correct?
There's a number of different options. So if you are involved with the CLSC, which usually happens when you have a more serious incapacity or illness, then there are services available through the CLSC. Prior to that, though, anybody is able to get services from either privately, if they can afford that, which a lot of people can't.
Mm-hmm.
So there are also what's called now domestic help social economy businesses providing home care services. And so these are organizations that do charge but they're not for profit, so they'll reinvest into their own services if they do make any money. And there are government reductions for those kinds of services. So people can find out which one operates in their territory and then access home care services through that.
That's Jessica Smith from the YWCA. She's helping us navigate the healthcare system, something that's not such an easy thing to do. So we are very grateful to have her here. What I experience a lot with people is that, as Matt mentioned earlier, this bravado of I can do it myself, or they're not that bad. They're not that bad yet. Mm-hmm. So how do we know how bad does someone have to be in order to receive service?
So I think that comes back to what I was saying a minute ago, which is it doesn't depend necessarily on what the person who is sick or has the incapacity, what their situation is necessarily. It depends on how you live it. So, for example, you can have two people caring for an elderly parent with a similar level of need in terms of health and so on. But let's say one person who's caring for that person has a flexible job and doesn't have kids, and it's a pleasure for them to be with the person they care for, and they go 3 times a week, and it's not a heavy burden on them to fit that into their particular life. Whereas you can have somebody else who is in the same kind of situation, or the cared for person is in the same kind of situation, but maybe this person's taking care of a parent out of obligation or out of guilt, and has 3 children and a job, and maybe the parent that they're taking care of didn't take care of them when they were kids. They were neglectful or abusive even. And so the dynamic in that family and that relationship is so different from the other that the burden is just absolutely not the same. So it's very individual. If a person feels that the situation they're in is burdensome or difficult or challenging, that's when you go. It's not about what the technical, practical situation is. It's how you live it.
That's Jessica Smith from the YWCA guiding us in how to navigate the healthcare system. Now, Jessica, I'm in this world. We help seniors transition from homes into retirement homes, and I hear a lot of complaining, particularly with trying to get resources from the CLSC. I must first preface this. I'm in the hospitals all the time. I'm in the rehab centers all the time. I'm in the CLSCs all the time. This is not a human resource issue. This is not an individual person issue. The people that I work with, regardless, in the hospitals, in the CLSCs, most of them are wonderful people. I just want to make sure that's clear. The challenge is the system that we're in and trying to get in. So if you need, and I can't afford someone private, because there's lots of private, great if you can afford it, but if you can't, what's my very first step? I call the CLSC and I explain my situation, and they do an evaluation. I've heard it could wait up to 2 months even to get that evaluation. Is that true?
It really depends on the CLSC. So some CLSCs can move faster than others. It depends on what's happening at the time in the health situation of seniors, if we're talking about seniors or of anybody. So, I can't speak to the time frames exactly, but I think you're right in what you're saying is that it's not about the individual professional providers, right? There's a system that has dramatically shifted in the last few years in terms of the structure, and people are still reeling from that. People working in the system are still navigating themselves the system that they're in that has dramatically transformed, and are trying to figure it out and sort of reestablish where they are at and what they can offer. So when we feel confused and we understand that they have difficulty figuring all that out, we can understand why it's so hard for us. So trying to understand that is maybe difficult. You want to call the CLSC as soon as I said, as you feel that there's a need for yourself. Unfortunately, the CLSC, because it's limited in terms of what it can provide resource-wise, it will take on the most serious cases. So that doesn't mean don't call. You should always call. But they are dealing with people who have more severe levels of incapacity
So they're prioritizing. So even though you might be in a world of hell, in your opinion, but from the CLSC's social workers' perspective, they're seeing 8, 10, 12 families a day, and there could be others that are much worse than you. You just don't realize that. That's why you're kind of waiting a little longer than what you would want. That's
right. And I think one thing that's really important is that there are other things out there, and that's something that people don't know a lot about, and that isn't really well publicized. And so people, I think, have the tendency to turn to the CLSC system to solve everything and to get to everything, which we would love to have if that were possible. But more and more, there are other actors that the government is counting on, like community organizations or these domestic help social economy businesses, to complement and to basically to meet the needs of the population. But the information about the fact that those are actors that are being counted on now is not really out there for people.
That's so
You know, it's you're bringing up very good points, and Corey, you and I see it in our world as well. Great advice, but sometimes people wait too long, and before you know it, you're in crisis mode. So we're going to talk about crisis mode and what to do, but first we're going to head out to the CJD Traffic Center with Lauren Glazer.
You are incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I almost missed
There's so many
cues.
things I wish I'd said. And
No, I almost missed cues because I'm.
Oh, because you were listening.
Deserves a close up. Way to go,
Oh,
Jessica.
thanks.
You're doing.
My
Hey, is she great or what?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, how succinct you are is incredible. And so this is great. This is great. If you had any word, this is great. So we're gonna go go back to the crisis,
Yes.
and then you can make that mention of the online thing.
If there's a way to work in the why don't people call, because we're talking about where do people call, when do people call.
Yeah.
But
So
first,
Yes.
before that, there's a why don't people call.
So you know what?
So
You'll ask crisis, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll ask that.
Yeah.
Why don't
Yeah.
people
I think
call?
that's an important piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the answer macho Italian guy, type A personality, just don't want to call?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. I like it.
Yeah.
But caregiver personalities are giving personalities,
Right.
not
Yeah.
receiving.
Not
So
receiving, so it's hard to
But
ask for help.
That's it. I think that's
Right.
why we're in this business, because we aren't the type A personalities. We are empathetic, compassionate people, but not everyone is like us. I
Yeah.
mean, you're right in that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you would not be in this field.
That's it.
So from the what
Did I gift
crisis
list you
and that resource, then why don't people call, and then we can do a little bit of support for caregivers,
Yeah, because we'll have room for like 3, maybe
Yeah.
4 questions.
because you're going to have mentioned the Support the Family Caregivers program, right?
Yeah.
In that, oh yeah,
Yes.
in that, isn't that?
Yeah, I mean,
is it?
yes, yes,
Okay.
I will.
So that's part of the crisis. What do people in crisis need to know, or no?
Well, we're talking about caregivers, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's fine.
yeah.
So why don't people reach out, and then you can give in your answer, and then by the way, and now I don't know if this will be part of your answer, but for those that maybe don't want to reach out, but they're more comfortable doing a
Yeah.
search online,
Yeah.
there you go. Right.
Yeah, I'd rather put it in
the crisis,
the
right?
crisis thing,
Yeah.
because
Ah,
the
okay,
list of
even
key
better,
resources
even
that we
better.
were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah.
it really relates
Okay.
to that.
Even better.
Yeah. So then we'll just ask some more random questions about them. So what are you having for dinner tonight? It's always a good one.
Support for the caregiver. Did we respond
No,
to that?
we haven't.
Okay,
I'll
that's-
incorporate that.
No, we'll ask it. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
So that will be our third question.
Yeah, because I'm in a
And
crisis. You're gonna tell us that. He's gonna ask why people don't reach out, and then.
Oh, and then
caregiver.
follow that with, and
Yeah.
if they do reach out, where will they go?
So what about support for the caregiver? In other words, you're saying there's
I'm
support.
going to
groups.
answer that super quickly, so
Just-
it'll take like 10 seconds.
And you'll see
What's the time
here.
again?
So at around
50?
4:55 and a half, 4:56
Yeah.
is we're not out, but we're thanking you,
Yeah.
and then we're out at around 4:57.
Okay.
So we might be okay. We'll have about 5-6 minutes. So Corey, you're coming in.
I moved my chair last time. I was getting talky and I backed up and I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, you're into it, right?
I use my hands a lot, so I needed space.
Yeah. Get into the flow.
When you said professional services, your very first answer, what you're referring to, like what?
Basically anybody who works in some aspect of the system who knows stuff. So community organizations,
Okay, so
CLSCs.
I would want to reiterate that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when I heard professional, I think, oh, it's going to cost me money.
Right.
But it's not true. NOVA,
Yeah.
ALS,
Yeah.
Cummings
Alzheimer's
Center.
Society,
Cummings
AGI.
Center.
Yeah.
So- Cummings Center. So let's.
Yeah, I
would
I
like-
think I was going to explain that a bit more, but then when we went somewhere.
So I would. We
Come back
definitely
on
have to reinforce that.
I can do that. That's what I'm
So
going
we'll-
to say.
Okay.
Community services.
Because we have our when the caregivers, we have our caregiver support group, as
Oh,
do you.
here we go.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Sirota with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking with Jessica Smith from the YWCA about how to navigate our healthcare system. Not an easy task, but she is making it much more doable. I gotta admit. Before the break, we just kind of threw out there the fact that as much as there are services out there, lots of people wait. We can talk about why they wait, but first let's talk about what they do. Why do people in crisis, what do they need to, what do we do when you're in crisis? What do they need to know?
I think the first thing that's really important is to realize that though you feel really alone, you're not alone. And so what I mean by that is there are often more people around you than you realize. There are often more resources around you than you realize. Caregiving can be extremely isolating, and you get into the habit of being in your world and not really realizing what's out there, who's out there. Or they worry about pulling other people in because other people have their lives and are busy and are coping with their own level of stress. But I think, just knowing that there are other caregivers out there, other people living these stresses, you aren't the only one. For some reason, that's really comforting, even though it doesn't change anything about your situation necessarily. And then going from that step to reaching out to your family, to your friends, to your neighbors even. You'd be surprised how willing people are to help out if they know you're in need. So if you're able to say, I'm in crisis, I need something, people will come forward. And outside of your own entourage, there are services out there. As I was mentioning before, there are so many services out there that people just really aren't aware of. There's a whole slew of community organizations in Montreal that provide service. And I was saying earlier, talk to a professional. And when I say professional, I mean anybody who's working in the system or around the system. Community organizations have tons of highly qualified counselors and social workers and people who can navigate all of this for you as a caregiver. So.
That's Jessica Smith from the YWCA giving us some excellent advice as to how we can navigate the system. Jessica, I want to expand a little bit on that because when I hear professional, sometimes I think, it's private. There are tons of private resources out there where you do pay for them. But I want to expand a little bit on some of the community resources out there because I think a lot of people have no idea how many community resources, nonprofits are out there to help people in need, and we can't list them all here.
No.
But everything from Alzheimer's groups to Parkinson's groups to you name it. We talked Nova, right? Nova West Island, Corey yourself, Camp Aaron. It goes on and on and on, and it's our responsibility because we are in this system daily. But I think a lot of people are so confused, nervous about it, and it's a matter of doing a couple searches, talking to your friends, like you mentioned, if they've gone through it. So I can't reinforce that enough.
Yeah, I think to say that you can go online and search, you have to know what you're searching for often, and that can be hard. If you just want to say, I'm in crisis, I need help, it's hard to find those resources, even if you're able online, and there's a lot of caregivers and people that are not comfortable using the internet. So I think, knowing that a couple of key things I can just mention quickly is 211 is a phone number you can now dial that gives you access to a person on the other end of the line who can help you find access to any community resources in Montreal for any need you have. And this goes for any need. This is not specific to caregiving or to the system, the healthcare system. It's anything. So that's one really, really important resource to know. If you are a caregiver of a senior who's at home, there is a caregiver support line which you can call, and that's the sort of entry point to all the different community organizations, as well as the social economy health businesses. And there are counselors on the phone there that can sort of assess your situation with you and then direct you to all the different.
And which line is that?
That is the caregiver support hotline. In French, it's called infuriating. It's a little bit more known by that. I can give you the phone number if you want. It's 1-855-852-7784. that's the access point for all of those
That's
services.
incredibly helpful.
And if I might mention also, we've just put online at the YWCA the conference that my team and I have prepared on how to navigate the CLSC services for home care. And it's a condensed version of our 2.5-hour presentation that we give all over Montreal. It's about half an hour, 40 minutes. There's one in French, one in English. And at the bottom of that, after you watch that video and understand the CLSCs a bit better, and this is the important point, there are a number of resources that we provide links to or that we will provide, one of which is a list of key phone numbers in Montreal for whatever different kind of crisis you might be facing, whatever different kind of need you might be facing related to these types of topics.
You know, Corey, that's great, and we should post that on our Life
absolutely.
Unrehearsed Facebook page.
Yeah.
So we'll post that tonight on our Life Unrehearsed Facebook page. I've seen it. Lots of good numbers, lots of great resources.
So I cannot thank you enough. I don't know how you managed to do this in a short period of time, but you gave us a ton of information, and the information is going to keep coming because we are going to post it on our website. So thank you so much for your time. Can you remind us again what is the link or the contact for people to get in touch with you?
So our phone number is 514-866-9941, extension 226.
And the website?
YWCA Montreal, MTL.org.
So YWCA Montreal, YWCA
MTL.org /English or EN/caregiver.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Jessica.
So great. So let me tell you about next week, Matt. Next week on Life Unrehearsed, the complexities of interfaith relationships, especially around the holiday season.
And we will have yoga expert Roselle Gonzalez in studio with us next week, who will be talking about the many health benefits that yoga offers. I've talked to Roselle, Corey, and I just thought it was, flexibility and physical.
Yeah.
It is much, much more than that, and we're going to learn about a lot of those benefits. And you can catch us on Life Unrehearsed every Sunday at 4 p.m. on CJD 800.
Oh, that went fast that second time.
Yeah, it did. Very good.
You gave such
Tons
great
of
information,
resources.
Yeah. So what if I put
Not
it
so
on
many
the
stories.
website?
It's hard to fit it all in.
What's
Jessica,
the-
thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, well, thanks
All right,
so
bye-bye to
much.
Facebook.
Bye. See you next week.